Glad to have you back. The program has been Education Dialogue, brought to you by Edugist, and this is made possible by Scale Integrated Services. You might be wondering what Edugist is. We are a non-profit newsroom reporting about education. You can be part of this conversation. Follow us across social media on X, LinkedIn, Facebook, X. Use the hashtag Education Dialogue. We'll be looking at market relevant education, educating students for that very market. You know, as Africa's economies evolve and job markets shift, there is a growing need for education system to adapt. So today on the show, we will explore how current educational practices align with job market demands, highlight innovative approaches, solutions, and of course, we will discuss future directions to ensure that students are prepared for the opportunities and challenges ahead. In doing this, different institutions are optimizing for evolving education system and new ones are being bettered. But we will take a quick break, and when we come back, you will meet my guest to discuss this topic: market relevant education. Are we educating rightly? We'll be back.
Hello Lagos, join us every Thursday right here on Inspiration 92.3 FM from 3:30 to 4 p.m. for Education Dialogue by Edugist. On Education Dialogue, we bring together policymakers, education leaders, and parents to discuss issues, explore solutions, and drive positive change. With Edugist, education has a voice.
Glad to have you back. The program has been Education Dialogue. If you're just tuning in, brought to you by Edugist, and this is made possible by Scale Integrated Services. You might be wondering what Edugist is. We are a non-profit newsroom reporting about education. You can be part of this conversation. Follow us across social media on X, LinkedIn, Facebook, X. Use the hashtag Education Dialogue. But like I said before the break, on this week's edition, we are looking at market relevant education. And the question is, are we educating for the market? My guest to discuss this is the Head of Development and Partnerships at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management, NUTM for short. He has extensive expertise across non-for-profit fundraising, investment banking, deals advisory, and corporate finance. Before joining NUTM, he served as the Vice President of Corporate Finance at Resource Energy, where he spearheaded equity and debt capital raises for the firm's commercial and industrial solar project across East and West Africa. Additionally, he led key corporate finance activities, including Series A and B fundraising and investor relations for the technology startup Sabi, which operates in Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa. It's quite a long resume here, but who am I talking about? I'm talking about Olubiyi, Akinnaanu. Olubiyi, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm pleased to be here.
Yeah, so I mean, such robust portfolio, and finally you are in education. Just tell us about your journey.
Thank you very much, Alex. Like you mentioned, when you take a look at my resume, I primarily led a career in corporate finance. I did that for about 8 years, starting out with investment banking, moving to deals advisory at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and finally leading a number of capital raise mandates with a renewable energy firm and technology startup. And as I went through this journey within my career in corporate finance, I think what had mostly stood out to me is really solving problems I saw are very important on the continent. For instance, renewable energy firm was energy, that was a problem. With the technology startup, it was incentivizing and helping small-scale merchants to increase their business transaction volume. And the opportunity with the NUTM came primarily understanding the problem around education, university and higher learning education in Nigeria, I'd put together, I'd share with you maybe one statistic that was very compelling to me when I went there. And that was that there's no university on the continent that is ranked within the top 250 universities globally from Africa. Whether it's in South Africa or here in Nigeria. And for me, that was very compelling. If you look at, technology and engineering universities, which the NUTM is, there's no university that is ranked within the top 300. And that for me was a huge problem that I thought, needed to be solved, which the NUTM for the last 4 years has been focused on solving. And we proved the concept that truly you can deliver a world-class education locally anywhere in the world, as from Nigeria for the Pan-African mandate. If you focus on the number of things.
Okay, we will go there. I just wanted to know your background because it was interesting to see that you've come here and there and there. Like the topic says, we are looking at educating for a dynamic world where what you see today, I graduate today, but I'm not sure what the job requirement is going to be the next year. So the question is, how well do the current education system across Africa match the needs of today's job market? Yet, we are not among the top 300. We started from 600, and even the top almost 6 to 7 universities are South African's university, no Nigerian there. But the question is, education systems across Africa, are we preparing graduates for the reality of the job market today?
Thank you very much, Alex. And indeed, right, I'd say we are very clearly on the path to get there. I'll talk about a number of the things that universities need to incorporate today, right, to be able to ensure that their models are relevant for market, for training or education that the market has accepted. One is that, for you to deliver a world-class education, right, anywhere in the world, right, whether it's in Africa or, in developed markets, you need a global faculty, right? You do not need a faculty that is just, locally relevant alone, because remember that you're delivering an education that can be used by anybody anywhere in the world. And so your faculty needs to be global, right? At the NUTM, I talk about that. We have faculty from multiple universities across the world, Ivy League universities, from Harvard to MIT to Wharton, Stanford, etc. They actually teach at the university. And we do that using an adjunct model, but combine that with industry practitioners to be able to teach. So for education systems to actually be relevant, you need a global faculty, not one that is locally formed. The second piece is that you need a curriculum that is actually reviewed and developed by industry. That is also relevant for industry. And the way to do that, right, I use the example of NUTM. How we do that is that I think our curriculum today, we get in Nigeria, right, we get for undergraduate and postgraduate programs, we get curriculum for universities. But we actually have our curriculum reviewed by industry leaders. So we have industry practitioners who sit on what we call an industry council and make sure that every part of the curriculum is relevant for the current requirements of industry or work and even for the future of work. So that every graduate that comes out of the university, or in this case the NUTM, right, they very quickly fit into the workforce. So whether you're getting in as an analyst in investment banking or a product management analyst in a technology firm, right, or you're joining any startup, right, the learning that you would have gained would be immediately relevant, and so you just fit into the workforce with minimal training.
I mean, good to know. Thank you, Olubiyi, especially the industry council. So I first came across this concept on MIT and some universities in India. This is their focus. Would it be that your model is adoption of things that have worked in other climes?
Indeed, and it's good that you bring that up, Elvis, because the catchphrase that we use at the university, the NUTM, is that we are building the MIT of Africa.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. That's what we say, when we're talking to our partners. And, to the point that you even make, right, before we started the university, that's the trust stage, of the university, we actually went on a study trip to the Indian Institute of Technology, right, to learn how they built the university, right, from ground up, adopting some of these elements that I've spoken about and truly designing this, really world-class and successful university. So a lot of the things, that we do at the university, right, is actually looking at these comparable world-class universities like IIT that you talk about, and then taking these learnings and infusing it into the design and the development and the evolution of the university. And I think, other universities locally and globally, right, they can take a learning, too, from this model.
Absolutely. And now the tech ecosystem is growing. One would think that the way your model is positioned, especially from your scholar program, it is still for tech. But this is not to undermine that other sectors need intervention, whether it's agriculture, whether it's security, whether it's petroleum and gas. I mean, how expansive is the focus and strength of NUTM, as it were?
Yeah, indeed. So to start out, right, we're a STEM-focused university. So that means you're focused on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. But in addition to these 4 areas, right, we also focus on management, leadership, entrepreneurship, and what we call soft skills. Now, this is a very, soft area that maybe not a lot of universities focus on, right? Areas like critical thinking, problem solving, communication, we found that to be very, very important in the development of any student, the development of a graduate that comes out of the academy. And so, beyond the STEM-focused areas, right, that the university has expertise in, right, we also add this additional areas. And I think there's a phrase that we point for ourselves, which is STEM, right? It stands for STEM, but then we add management and entrepreneurship.
So quite a lot of phrases, STEM, MIT of Africa, quite a lot. But I will come back to see your undergraduate program is on the way to kick off. But before now, what have you done in the past 4 years? And why should people look at for this? But before we answer that, we will take a quick break. In case you are just tuning in, the program is Education Dialogue, brought to you by Edugist, proudly sponsored by Skilled Integrated Services. We'll be right back.
Hello Lagos, join us every Thursday right here on Inspiration 92.3 FM from 3:30 to 4 p.m. for Education Dialogue by Edugist. On Education Dialogue, we bring together policymakers, education leaders, and parents to discuss issues, explore solutions, and drive positive change. With Edugist, education has a voice.
Glad to have you back. Indeed, education have a voice. If you're just joining in, the program is Education Dialogue, and today we are discussing market relevant education, educating students for a dynamic world. And my guest has been Olubiyi Akinnaanu, the head of development and partnership at the Nigerian University of Technology and Management. In his word, the MIT of Africa. Before the break, Olubiyi, we're talking about starting undergraduate program, but before now, you've been around. What have you done in the past, and what are some of the successes to highlight that actually motivated the next action you're taking, which is onboarding undergraduates?
Yes, thank you, obviously. Over the last 4 years, right, since we started in 2019, been around for the last 45 years. What we had set out to do was to really prove this 4 areas that I think I mentioned.
Yes, science, technology,
global faculty, industry-led curriculum, global partnerships, right, and experiential learning through entrepreneurship. And this last 4 years have really been proving that these 4 areas, if you focus on it, as a university, as an institution of higher learning, the outcome will truly be transformational. And for the students that come to the university, right, our alumni statistics show that 55% of our graduates actually go to work for top corporates, African corporates, an endless list. And not just on the country, right, but also on the continent. But what we found to be really powerful is that 45% of the graduates that come out of the NUTM, they actually pursue an entrepreneurial venture, which is during the NUTM, right, every student has to go through what we call technology and design lab, where they create a venture from scratch. And this venture that they create from scratch is focused on solving a problem that they find on the continent. So they start from ideation to product development to development of an application to finding users, to find paying users, and eventually pitching to investors on what we call a demo day. What we found that graduates, right, because of just the power of solving problems, they've pursued their ventures after leaving university. And today, amongst themselves, they've raised more than $3 million in venture funding. But beyond that, right, amongst themselves, they've also employed over 600 people, both full-time and part-time individuals. And for us, this is powerful, right, in that beyond the fact that we're training individuals across all of these areas where, they have the appropriate soft skills, they have the appropriate leadership mindset, they're entrepreneurial. We have these individuals who are going into the workforce and acting as entrepreneurs and problem solving in this top African organization. But we also have individuals who are venturing out on their own to solve problems that they identify on the continent. And so this, success stories that we've seen, either with getting graduates ready for the workforce or preparing them to solve problems and employ people and raise venture funding to start their businesses, we've seen that these 4 areas around global faculty, industry, curriculum, partnerships, and experiential learning actually have set us up for success. And now we're at the point where we're scaling, right? The goal is to get to 10,000 students by 2030 and also launch a digital school by the time we are at scale.
Awesome, Olubiyi. I think that's almost a very great balance, 55% for top workforce and then 45% taking up entrepreneurship. And I like that the 4 pillars of your focus is easy. My next question will be, I hear global faculty, I hear global partnership, and you know quite well that in higher ed, localization is big. What has been your partnership locally? Because I would think that for all the startups that have come out of your program so far is to serve the local market. A lot of the races, $3 million, you said. Probably most of the angels are local people. So what is the local partnership drive thus far?
So thank you very much for that. Beyond this global focus that we talked about, right, we also have Africa-wide partnership. But locally, right, in Nigeria, we have a very strong industry relationship with corporates, especially because the work that we do at the university, right, is not a silo. We work to solve the problems that the market is facing, whether by existing corporates or new problems that are created by this, the environment that we live in. And so from corporate partnerships with telecommunications companies, with oil and gas firms, with FMCG firms, with academic partners, we ensure that locally in the country, and I don't want to start mentioning names, so locally in the country,
otherwise I'll give you invoice if you start calling.
We have a long list of industry partners that we work with to ensure that the problems that students, are looking to solve, right, they have a way to test it whilst they're in the school. And it's in going to these corporates, right, that they help them solve some of their problems, right, and in doing that, right, we're able to strengthen the relationship and continue to provide this pipeline of talent to the industry partners that we work with.
Super good to know. Lagos, in case you're just joining in, the program is Education Dialogue, reaching you from 92.3 Inspiration FM. I think the studio lines are open. If you have question, comment, radio studio line 0700 923 923 923 0700 923 923 923. You can drop a WhatsApp message 0817 313 6193. And of course, like I said, you can join this conversation online across social media, X, Facebook, WhatsApp. Just look for us. We are Edugist, and then use the hashtag Education Dialogue. Let's come back. So typically parents are asking this NUTM, where are you really?
In terms of location.
Yes.
So currently, right, we're at Apapa, and we're in a facility that allows us to start our undergraduate program and postgraduate program, which is starting this December. Admissions are currently in progress. The facility allows can take 500 individuals fully residential on campus. But beyond this, because the campus in Apapa is a temporary campus, beyond this campus, we're going to be transitioning to the permanent campus.
Where?
It's located close to Waterman College along the Abeokuta Shagamu Expressway. So just right on the express.
So you heard it here first. Okay. Good to know. Now, let's look at scale. The topic here is we want to see how we can educate for a dynamic changing world, looking from a national perspective. So far, we have dwelt using NUTM as examples, but if we are scaling what you are looking at the NUTM model for at a national level, what can you put out as advice, a couple of things that we can adopt, especially at the public university level?
So I take that question from two perspectives. One is that for a global education, globally relevant education, market relevant education, one thing that is important that typically is underemphasized is access. And this is access to marginalized groups, right? So for instance, you could have young females who the representation in STEM is actually very low. They actually need to come to study these types of courses in the university. But beyond that, groups that are disabled, groups that have gone through some type of conflict, and just opening up this type of market relevant education to them, I think is very, very powerful. Because what it does is that once they have representation, right, they're able to take this learning and they then become an apostle, right, of this type of education to the communities that they have come out from. So I think that's very, very important, ensuring that there's no barrier to access for these types of marginalized groups. For public universities, I think the learning is clear. Like you said, right, we're in a local environment where the work that you do, right, is increasingly global, and your competition as well is increasingly global. If public universities are creating graduates and producing graduates, those graduates need to be relevant for the future of work, and not just the future of work locally, it has to be global. Some of these elements I've mentioned today, I think, once they strike very hard at it, it's very valuable.
Thank you, Olubiyi. As we take it home in 1 minute or less, really, to get into MIT, very hard. Acceptance rate 16%. The Indian Institute of Technology also very high, about 27 to 29% annually. Acceptance rate. What does it take to get into NUTM? UTME, the list of score. Tell us.
So for the undergraduate program, right, to get into the NUTM, like I said, admissions are currently ongoing for bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, information technology, and computer science. And there's an MBA program for part-time online MBA program that admissions is currently ongoing for. Again, on the bachelor's degree side, you need your JAM scores and obviously your YH scores as well. But for the MBA program, you need to go through an entire process to be able to get to the university, which is on our website at the nutm.edu.ng.
That's the website. Olubiyi Akinnaanu, Head of Development and Partnership at NUTM. Thank you for being on the show. Lagos, this has been today's edition of the Education Dialogue. We'll be back on this station same time next week. But of course, go to our website for latest and breaking education news. This show has been made possible by Skilled Integrated Services. My name is Elvis Boniface. I'd like to connect with you across social media. Have a good evening.